Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into something raw, immense, and utterly unforgiving. Life in the Roman Empire. Not as an emperor or senator, no. Marble baths, tonight. You're not Julius Caesar. You're simply ... you. Thrown headfirst into a world of sandals, sewage, and crucifixions approved by the state, without any warning. Before we dive in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this type of content. And let me know in the comments where you're re-watching from and what time it is right now. I always find it fascinating to see this little community stretch across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe switch on a fan for that gentle background hum, and let's drift together into the past. You wake up to a chorus of shouting neighbors, squawking chickens, and a baby crying somewhere close by. Congrats, you've just opened your eyes inside a Roman insula. Think of it as an ancient apartment block, multiple stories of questionable architecture, held up by prayer, dust, and luck. You're likely living on the 3rd or 4th floor, which basically means two things. You're poor, and if your upstairs neighbor spills oil, your ceiling might collapse. Your room, barely bigger than a closet. Stone walls that sweat in the summer and trap freezing air in winter. There's no glass window, just a hole that lets in air, smoke, and the occasional pigeon. Your mattress stuffed with straw and lice. The blanket smells like damp wool and stale regret. No furniture, no decorations, certainly no kitchen. Cooking indoors, forbidden. A single spark could burn down the entire building, and no one has invented fire codes yet. Your possessions, a chipped clay cup, a worn tunic, maybe, if you're fancy, a wooden comb, toilet, not even close. Your chamber pot waits in the corner, quietly judging you. You'll carry it down rickety stairs, praying you don't slip and become the morning's tragic headline. The walls, so thin you hear everything. Your neighbor coughing, praying, arguing with his wife, and unfortunately, not arguing. If you catch my drift, the air is heavy with smoke, mildew, and the ripe scent of people who haven't seen clean water since last Saturnalia. Someone downstairs is baking bread. But that's not for you. Outside, street vendors shout prices for figs and fish guts. Somewhere, a centurion barks at a bleeding man. You haven't even stepped outside, and you're already sweaty, itchy, and probably inhaling lead dust from ancient pipes. Welcome to your Roman morning. You're not a gladiator, you're not Caesar, you're just another broke tenant, trying not to trip down rotten stairs or insult the wrong household god before noon. And you still have 23 hours to go. After you shuffle down the shaking staircase of your insula, the next crisis arrives. Your bladder. No bathroom at home, no plumbing, not even a halfway decent bucket. So you head down the block, chamber pot in one hand, your last scrap of dignity in the other, toward the local latrina. Rome's idea of a public toilet. Public is generous. It's more like a group ritual, a shared moment between strangers who politely pretend not to make eye contact. You find a stone bench lined with holes, all feeding into a shallow channel of running water. You sit carefully, praying. The guy next to you isn't chatty. No partitions, no doors, no privacy. It's half bathroom, half social club. A merchant complains about grain prices mid-squat. A retired soldier curses his aching joints. You do your best not to look across at the man eating olives, like he owns the place. Then comes the highlight, the tersorium, a fascinating piece of history. Yes, a communal sponge on a stick, soaking in vinegar. In theory, you rinse it first. In reality, that sponge has history. You use it, hoping the vinegar kills whatever lived there before. If you're lucky, you brought your own rag. If you're richer, maybe most likely, you share Rome's collective shame and its germs, leaving without washing your hands. Unthinkable. You splash them in a basin shared by countless others. No soap, no heat, just cold water swirling with secrets. And now, lighter in body and heavier in existential dread, you face the next ordeal. Breakfast. You've survived shaky stairs and a communal toilet without humiliation. Small victories. Now it's time for Yantaculum. The Roman morning meal. It isn't much. Stale bread, a splash of watered-down wine, maybe, if fortune nods in your direction, a scrap of cheese or a few tired olives. No coffee, no bacon, no honey cakes, definitely no latte with oat milk, just rough panis rusticas, the kind of bread that could double as a doorstop, and thin wine, so weak it tastes more like sour water. You stand in the street or squat by a fountain, tearing off bread that fights your teeth back. Vendors pass by, selling sesame rolls or hot chickpea fritters you can almost taste, until you remember your coin pouch is emptier than your stomach. Still, the faint burn of cheap wine is enough to fake courage for the day ahead, because next comes work. Work in ancient Rome isn't a calling. It's a test of how long your back, lungs, and luck will last. If you're part of the majority, no title, no patron, no silver ring, your day starts at dawn and ends only when darkness hides your exhaustion. No weekends, no unions, no holidays, except the ones that exist to remind you who has power over your life. You haul bricks, you clean alleys, you push carts, you unload amphorae until your muscles not like rope. Your tools, whatever you can borrow or fix yourself. Your pay, enough to keep hunger just one step behind. If you have a trade, maybe cobbling sandals or shaping clay, it's slightly better. You get shelter from the sun at the price of breathing in soot and dust that will slowly choke you long before old age does. Are you a woman? Then you do all this and still carry water, grind grain, cook over open flames, mend tunics, soothe crying children, and try not to catch your own dress on fire. Forget schooling, unless your family is rich. Most start working almost as soon as they can stand. And if you're enslaved, freedom is rumor, rest is fantasy. Your sunrise is someone else's command, and your sunset belongs to them too. No one asks how you're feeling. No one cares if your bones ache or if your heart does. You work, because to stop working means hunger, and hunger means death. When the sun finally slips behind the tiled rooftops, your workday might end, but not always. You could head to a smoky tavern, drowning your aches in sour wine that barely numbs anything. Or you might shuffle home to your cramped insula, where privacy is a myth and silence is a joke. The streets stay alive long after dark. Vendors hawking bread and figs by lamplight. Children chasing each other through alleys, barely wide enough for a stray dog. And drunks arguing over who owes what. Every so often there's a scuffle, a shove, a shout, maybe a knife. You keep your head low and hope it isn't your night to bleed. Dinner, nothing special. Maybe a thin bean soup or lentil stew, thick enough to fill your stomach if not your heart. Hard bread, broken into broth to soften it, and always eaten with your hands. You share what little you have with family, and uninvited guests, like flies and mice, bathing. If you're lucky and have a few coins, you visit a public bath. But if you're broke or too tired, it's a quick splash from a cracked basin back home, or none at all. A sack of straw, alive with lice. You curl up, muscles stiff, skin sticky from sweat, lungs raw from dust. You close your eyes, knowing tomorrow will be the same. But even in this life of dust and struggle, something stubborn burns inside. You wake up, you keep going, you endure. Not because you believe life will suddenly get better, but because stopping isn't an option. Some nights you catch yourself dreaming of softer beds, fuller plates, quieter streets, dreams so fragile they vanish by dawn. But dawn comes anyway, and with it, the voices outside, the heat rising in the walls, and another day you didn't choose, but survive all the same. And so, the next morning finds you once again balancing on those worn wooden stairs, chamber pot in hand, mind already rehearsing today's battles. Outside, the city hums with 1,000 noises, smiths hammering metal that will outlive them, potters spinning wet clay into tomorrow's tableware, fishmongers shouting prices over goals hungry enough to argue back. You pass temples where marble gods look down with cold, indifferent eyes. People bow, burn incense, whisper prayers, not always out of faith, often out of fear, because the gods of Rome demand respect, and sometimes payment in bad harvests, sick children, or sudden fires. You smell roasted chickpeas and honey cakes from a vendor's store. Your stomach tightens, but your hand finds only a single worn coin in your pouch. Not today. Instead, you focus on your task, carrying water from the fountain, patching cracked walls, sweeping ash from yesterday's hut. Simple jobs, necessary jobs, jobs no poet will write about. By midday, the sun blazes off white stone and clay tiles. Sweat stings your eyes. You share a shallow sip from a communal cup, passing it hand to hand with strangers who barely look at you. Above, rich balconies spill shade onto mosaicked floors. Down here, you shield your face with a frayed sleeve. And all the while, the city moves. Chariots rumble over cobbles. Processions of priests chant hymns. older than memory. And at the very edge of the forum, a man shouts the news of distant provinces, names that might as well be myths. Afternoon drags into evening. The air cools, but the stones stay warm from hours of sun. In narrow alleys, children kick scraps of leather as a game. A woman hums while grinding grain. An old man traces the cracks in the wall he built decades ago, as if counting memories. You pause to watch, just for a heartbeat, because even here, surrounded by dirt, heat, and hunger, something still feels alive. The stubborn heartbeat of a city too proud to crumble. As dusk settles, torches flicker to life, chasing away the dark and crooked alleys and busy courtyards. Shadows dance on cracked plaster walls, and the smell of burning oil hangs heavy in the air. For a moment, the city feels softer. Neighbors gather around shared pots of stew, voices low but warm. A boy plucks a few rough notes from a lyre with missing strings. Someone tells a story about a hero who crossed seas, faced monsters, and returned alive. No one really believes it, but everyone listens. Further down the street, laughter spills from a tavern door. Inside, cheap wine loosens tongues. Laborers trade insults that blur into jokes. Merchants boast of trades that may or may not have happened. And a woman with eyes like dusk sings an old hymn that silences the room. For a heartbeat, all debts, bruises, and broken dreams. Pause. Only the song remains. Outside, the sky darkens until it swallows color itself. Stars emerge, scattered and faint, but still there. Somewhere in the city, priests whisper prayers to household gods, pouring drops of wine onto stone altars. A mother ties a red thread around her child's wrist to keep away the evil eye. An old man mumbles a charm learned so long ago he no longer remembers from whom. Faith here isn't grand temples and golden statues. It's in these small gestures, offered to anything that might listen. By moonlight, the streets change shape. Familiar paths feel unfamiliar. The city becomes a maze of echo and shadow. You walk carefully, eyes lowered if a guard passes. Feet soft against the cobbles so they make no sound. Some alleys promised shelter, others promise danger. You learn, over years, to feel the difference. The weight of the air, the hush of voices before violence. And still, life pulses on. Somewhere, lovers meet in secret behind shuttered stalls. A midwife hurries through the dark, breathless prayers on her lips. A thief scales a courtyard wall, dreaming of coins enough to eat tomorrow. Above it all, the city breathes, old, scarred, restless. And you survive. Not through strength, not through wealth, but through stubbornness, and a quiet hope that tomorrow's bread will taste a little less stale. Some nights, the city remembers how to celebrate, not the grand triumphs or marble banquets of senators. Those belong to another world. These are street festivals, half chaos, half ritual, lanterns strung between crumbling walls, figs candied in honey, sold from baskets that disappear before midnight, children chasing each other, painted with soot and laughing until their voices crack. At the center, a fire burns, fed by scraps, driftwood, even old sandals no longer worth repairing. Around it, neighbors dance in circles, rough as the stone beneath their feet. The steps aren't graceful. The rhythm is stubborn rather than sweet. But when feet thud together in dust, the city itself seems to throb along. For a moment, you're not thinking about tomorrow's hunger or yesterday's bruises. You just move. Someone spills wine on your tunic. Someone else pulls you into the dance. The air tastes of ash, sweat, and roasted chest. A peddler tells fortunes, tracing dirty lines on your palm. You'll live long, he lies kindly, and you'll die warm. You'll almost laugh. Almost there, just a little bit more, and we'll hit the nail on the head. Because in Rome, tomorrow's never promised. But tonight, you are here. Later, as the fire shrinks to embers, stories float between yawns. Tales of spirits that slip through cracks in the city walls, of shadows that feed on envy and grief, of the evil eye that can turn milk sour, ruin harvests, steal sleep. You don't claim to believe them, but you keep a charm under your straw mattress, just in case. And when you finally walk home, tired feet scraping ancient stones, you look up. The stars don't care about Roman politics, marble temples, or your empty purse. They burn the same way they did for your grandfather, and his grandfather before him. And somehow, that's comfort, because if the stars endure, later that night, you lie awake on straw that scratches more than it soothes. Your eyes are open, but the room is nothing but shifting shapes in the dark. You hear the slow breath of neighbors on the other side of thin walls, the drip of water somewhere it shouldn't be, the soft scurry of rats, your silent, constant roommates, and in this hush, your mind drifts. You remember your mother's voice, rough from years of smoke, telling you stories of heroes who bent fate with nothing but courage. You remember your father's hands, cracked and calloused, teaching you how to tie rope and mend sandals. You remember a childhood friend, lost to fever before either of you learned to shave. In these moments, memory is softer than straw, gentler than prayer. Outside, the city still mutters. The drunk who can't find his door, the dog who barks at ghosts only he can see, the wind that slides down alleys like a rumor, and beyond even that, the restless silence of stone upon stone, the hum of a city too ancient to truly sleep. In half dreams you see places you've never been, fields bright with wheat, rivers clear enough to see your face, roads that stretch so far the sun itself seems to wait for them, places where no one knows your name, and no one cares who your father was. Freedom and fear look alike in dreams, but dawn always comes. Slow at first. A dull silver along rooftops, then golden light that sneaks through the window hole, landing on your closed eyes until you open them. Another day, another chance to lift, to carry, to trade sweat for bread. Another chance, however small, to see something different, even if it's only a crack in the plaster you swear wasn't there yesterday. Because in Rome, hope is small, stubborn, and sometimes shapeless, but it survives, like a weed between cobblestones. Morning again. You wake to the same sounds, pots clanging in distant kitchens, vendors arguing over the price of olives, the heavy shuffle of feet on stone. The air still smells of smoke and last night's wine, but there's a freshness too, a promise, however faint, that today might bring something different. As you step into the street, you notice things you missed yesterday, a new crack winding through your neighbor's wall like a thin vine, a child drawing circles in dust, her tongue peeking out in concentration, and an old woman tying garlic to her doorway to ward off sickness. Superstition here isn't theater, it's armor, against plague, against curses, against the simple bad luck that stalks every poor man and woman in Rome. A man selling figs holds one out to you, a fruit so ripe it bleeds sweetness onto his palm. For a moment, you hesitate, but the coin in your pouch is already promised to tonight's bread. You smile, shake your head, and keep walking. Around you, life hums in every language. Greek curses barked by dock workers, rough Latin jokes from soft prayers in tongues carried from deserts and distant islands. Even in poverty, Rome is a city of countless voices. A baker sings an off-key hymn while rolling dough. A mother scolds a barefoot child who laughs anyway. A boy chases a stray dog through an alley narrow as a breath. It isn't beauty carved in marble, but it's alive. By midday, the heat leans heavy on your shoulders. You rest on a worn stone step, sweat tracing paths through city dust on your arms. Next to you, two old men argue over whose family came to Rome first. A woman passes, balancing a basket high on her head, walking with the calm grace of someone who's done this since childhood. And in that moment, dusty, hungry, and bone-tired, you remember, this is the only Rome you've ever known. Not the Rome of emperors and triumphs, but of cracked walls, shared bread, and stories whispered under tired breath. And somehow, for now, it's enough. Afternoon settles heavy over the city. Streets shimmer under the sun, stones almost too hot to touch, shadows shrink to the base of walls. Even the stray dogs search for scraps of shade. Your back aches from carrying water, stacking crates, or patching roofs. Whatever work the day demanded. Sweat clings to your tunic, salt burning where the cloth rubs raw skin, and beneath it all, quieter but constant, beats the oldest worry. Will today's coins stretch far enough for tomorrow's bread? You watch others fight the same fight. A mother leans over her stall, calling out prices with a voice turned hoarse by years of bargaining. A potter wipes clay-streaked hands on his tunic, counting coppers that never seem to add up. A beggar child cups her palm's eyes older than her years. Their struggles are yours, their hunger, too. Sometimes your thoughts drift to what if. What if you'd been born in a richer insula, closer to fresh water, and far from the smells of tanners and open drains? What if your father had owned land instead of debts? What if you'd learned to read, to write, to speak words that mattered? Dreams, all of them. In Rome, what if is a luxury, but even the poorest find space in their minds to keep it alive. The afternoon wanes, light softening from white-hot to gold. Vendors shout louder as the day closes, hoping to sell wilted herbs and bruised fruit before night. Children's laughter echoes off walls, thin, sharp, but defiantly bright. An old woman mutters charms over a bowl of beans, asking for protection against illness. The air feels gentler now, but it carries new worries. Will the night be quiet, or will drunk men wake the street? Will the roof beams hold another day? Will fever come for someone you love? And still, as the sun leans west, you keep moving, because stopping is surrender, and, in Rome, survival is as much motion as breath. Evening drifts in on a breeze cooler than the day deserves. Shadows stretch long across the stones, softening sharp edges the sun carved all afternoon. Street fires spark to life, each a little sun of its own, their light dances on tired faces. Traders packing up, children begging for one last fig, women gathering baskets now lighter than when the day began. At your insula, neighbors share scraps of news, rumors of grain shipments delayed by storms, talk of new taxes whispered like curses, a story of a senator caught in scandal, too distant to matter, yet everyone listens. Even gossip feels like bread here, a thing you pass hand to hand, hungry for something beyond survival. Dinner is humble, a bowl of lentils boiled until they surrender, maybe a crust of bread if luck favors you. You eat slowly, aware it might be all you'll taste until tomorrow. Breaking bread, sharing silence, listening to the city's nighttime breath. Beyond the meal, darkness thickens. Some find warmth in wine-soaked songs spilling from taverns. Others trace charms on doorposts, whispering prayers older than temples. Children curl on straw pallets, drifting into dreams brighter than the lamplight. An old man scratches stories into dust with a cracked finger, his words meant for no one yet spoken, all the same. And then, there's you, body weary, skin marked by sun and stone, yet inside burns something small but stubborn, a hope that tomorrow will come. And when it does, you'll be here to greet it, not with triumph, not with glory, but with breath, with step, with open eyes. Above, the moon rises, chipped, pale, yet enough to guide you home. And for tonight, that's enough. Midnight in Rome isn't silence. It's softer noise. The restless scrape of rats near grain sacks, a drunk mumbling curses to guards who don't answer, the sigh of wood beams shifting under unseen weight. Somewhere, a baby cries in half-sleep. Somewhere else, someone never wakes again. The walls of your insula feel closer now, breathing with you. Each crack becomes a vein, each shadow a whisper of past lives lived in this same room, or one like it. You lie on straw, skin itching from sweat that dried hours ago. The day's ache settles into bones, your mind drifts to small things, the shape of a new crack in the ceiling, a stone you stumbled over at dusk, the face of a child who laughed in the market. Memory at night is a softer blade, it cuts, but slowly. Fear visits quietly. Will fever come for you, as it did for your brother? Will tomorrow's work break something inside you that can't be fixed? Will someone remember your name after you're gone? These questions have no answers, but still you ask them. Because asking makes you feel alive. Beyond your walls, Rome itself never truly sleeps. In dark courtyards, cats hunt what mice dared to stay awake. At crossroads, lamps, gutter, and flare. By the river, the hum of water against stone sounds almost like breath. A city of marble above, of clay and dust below. A city of triumphal arches and hidden alleys where the forgotten dream. And then, as dawn tiptoes across rooftops, you feel it, that quiet, stubborn voice, inside whispering. Just keep going. Not for glory, not for wealth, but because breath itself is defiance. Life here isn't written in marble. It's traced in dust, sweat, and half-remembered prayers. Your days won't echo in the Senate, nor be carved into triumphal arches, but you live them anyway. You carry water, you break bread, you share laughter too rough to be pretty, too honest not to be precious. You endure, not because you're strong, but because you must. And maybe that's what living truly means. Not conquering empires, but rising each day to meet the weight of the world with open, calloused hands. So tomorrow, when the city stirs and the stones warm again under your feet, you'll stand, breathe deep, and step forward. And maybe that, quiet, unseen, yet unstoppable, is the closest any of us ever get to eternity.